everyone. Welcome to the Angel Rewatch, a spoiler-free retrospective podcast on Angel. I'm William.
And I'm Derek, and this is the podcast for Redefinition, originally airing January 16th, 2001, written by Mir Smith. This is really an episode of 4 different stories, which sounds like a train wreck, but it ends up being pretty good. However, there isn't a whole lot of intersection between them, so we'll take each one from beginning to end. First up, Wesley, Cordelia, and Gunn are reeling from being fired. Well, Cordy and Wesley are, but Gunn is totes okay with it because this is a side job, but it's still unconfirmed what his day job is or if it exists. Wesley then goes home to Virginia in a scene that screams, hey, this character exists, remember her? She gives him a pep talk, I think. Anyway, he ends up going to Caritas, where he runs into Cordelia and Gunn. Apparently, they are all having trouble dealing with the post-Angel investigation's life. They get drunk and argue about whose fault it is that they got fired. They also sing, but then Cordelia gets a vision, and even though they're hammered in the previous scene, they manage to kill the demon and save the girl. Wesley then visits Angel and tells him that they're keeping the agency open because someone has to keep up the fight. Angel doesn't respond, out loud anyway, more on that in a bit. In story number 2, Lindsey wakes up in a pile of bodies. He's very pleased when he thinks he's the only survivor of the attack and Darla saved him. And we can practically see the country music love song video in his head playing when Lilah gets up alive. The next morning, Lilah is worried that they're going to be killed because it's Wolfram Hart, but Lindsey's all blah 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 and quoting from the Gestapo handbook. They walk into Lindsey's office to find Darla and Drusilla. Darla and Drusilla tell them they let them live for a reason. They think that Wolfram Hart can be of use to them still, and they want whoever survives to be their liaison. Later, Lilah tries to trick Lindsey into betraying Wolfram Hart, but he doesn't fall for it. They get called into a meeting, and an executive tells them that neither of them are qualified for Holland's job. They will serve together until one of them proves their worth, and the other one, well, dies. Darla and Dru, though, are trying to build their underground demon army. They go to a couple of locations without success, mostly because Darla seems very disturbed about Angel and his existence. She denies that Angel has anything to do with her rampage, but it's clearly bothering her. This all literally blows up in her face at the last occasion. Angel's killed all her potential demon recruits, and then he sets Darla and Drusilla on fire. This turns them momentarily into 2 men in wigs and sweaters, but they get the fire out. The other says that wasn't Angel or Angelus, so who was it? Last and very much least, we have Angel's story. He has gone full-on Batman, and it's super boring and broody. He's not ready, he needs to get stronger. Seriously, if you've ever picked up a Batman comic, you have seen it before. We end the episode with him gravelly whispering, let them fight the good fight. Someone has to fight the war. Seriously, chill, dude. And that's the end of the episode.
I've got the moves.
You know what we should listen to? We should listen to this.
He got up and shook his head, then he said, ain't you been listening? It's never gonna work out. And I think it'd be a good time now to let me go.
Magical.
No,
magical.
No.
Magical. Yeah, I thought I wasn't going to play it, but I did. I don't care. I lied.
Oh,
we need to explain what it is, though.
Yes, we do. So Robin on Twitter shared a music video with us that's the actor that plays Lindsey and his country music success, and it is painful.
I knew about it before, but I feel like my brain protected me and I've completely forgot until Robin sent the link, and it is beautiful, really.
He's trying to out Texan.
He's the ultimate Texan, and I guess the song is okay if you like country music. It's the video though, because he has super long hair and the glasses, and he's macking on some babe.
Oh, God. Well, we have to share it, though.
Oh, we will, because it is beautiful. Anyway, we can talk about the episode, but that was the best thing about my week.
Okay, well, as far as the episode goes, you're right. It's like 4 separate stories, but for the most part, they all pretty much work. I think collectively we can all acknowledge that the voiceover for Angel doesn't.
We can talk about the voiceover for Angel last, because it's the thing I hate the most, and I don't really want to dwell on it that much.
Sure.
But I think all the stories end in an interesting place.
Right. I mean, starting off with our gang, I mean, I liked immediately jumping into where we ended last week, and I liked the focus on them because they had been taking a backseat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was nice to actually see the chorus of them and actually get their individualities more as opposed to them just kind of being in the background.
No, yeah, and we end the episode with them actually doing something, or the promise that they're going to do something.
Right. And I like all of the little bits that we got with them. Yes, kind of Wesley is stepping up and kind of taking charge, especially by the end of the episode. But having, like, even the scene where they're arguing is kind of explaining away why we haven't seen them that much. Like, oh, if we would have, like, the fact that they weren't speaking out or they were just letting things slide.
Which I never had a problem with them not speaking out and letting things slide because that seemed to make sense. But it's nice that they acknowledge it, that they were, that they messed up, and it's kind of all their faults. Well, really, it's Angel's fault that he fired them because he's crazy.
Yeah. I didn't mind seeing Victoria again. I mean, just for continuity's
sake. You mean Virginia?
Virginia. Oh.
I don't mind seeing her. It's just, it's kind of a weird scene because they seem to talk about things that they both know about. And I don't know why she's so confused about why Angel fired. I don't know how Wesley explained that he got fired, but didn't explain any of the details to her. So we could explain it later.
I mean, it was a little forced dialogue, and we had to remind that she was rich and remind that she was part of like some.
Well, I liked that part because it was kind of funny and she performed it well. And it's good to. I mean, it is good to remind who she is because we haven't seen her.
Right. Oh, your dad tried to kill you, and you were part of the Wiccan or the Wizards, whatever. They have wizards and stuff and things.
Warlocks are very progressive.
Okay, there you go.
Apparently.
But and I was a fan of them getting drunk at the bar. I thought that was.
I'm a fan of some of it, and then I think some of it goes on too long. Like, I don't really have a problem with drunk acting. It can be kind of amusing, but the fact that they're that hammered and then they get to fight a demon and don't all immediately die.
Well, sure, that's completely different, though.
Okay, well, yeah. I think some of the bar scenes go on a tad bit too long. Besides the Angel part, which I think is the worst part of the episode, that's the weakest, but I don't think it's that bad. Right.
I do want to know what Gunn would have sang.
Well, they all sing "We Are the Champions." What do you mean? What? Well, yeah, that's.
And then he says to Wesley, "You wouldn't know it," which I thought it was funny, but I wanted to know what he was singing.
I like that Wesley's ass is in pansy. It's good to confirm that. But so you want to just talk about because we're moving through it pretty quick apparently. Because I guess there's not really a whole lot to talk about until next episode with their story, but them deciding to fight and keep on Angel investigations. Well, Angel fights the war, whatever the hell that means.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting development. I like them kind of snapping out of it. I mean it's taking them like literally like Cordelia getting a vision or something, some outside force really to make them kind of snap out of it and go back to their mission, because you can't get fired from a mission apparently. And I liked seeing in particularly Wesley step up and say, well, he's not here, we have to keep going on. And even at the end of the episode when Wesley kind of confronts Angel and says, hey, we're going to do this with or without your help.
Do you think it really is Wesley becomes the leader role, and is that weird at all? Because he really wasn't.
Well, I think we've seen moments where he has stepped up, and it usually has ended badly. But there have been moments when he has gotten confident and taken kind of a leadership role. It usually blows up in his face, though, like a cross to the neck in the Exorcism episode or something similar to that effect. But I don't know. I liked seeing an inner strength in him. It makes him. I mean, it makes him a little more dynamic. That he's not comedic relief. Sometimes he's a jerk, but he also kind of has apparently some good leadership qualities.
Well, I guess it doesn't bother me at all. I feel like of the three of them, he seems the most ready to take on a leadership role. Cordelia doesn't seem that interested in being in the leadership role aspect of the job.
Right.
She just likes to boss people around when she can, but not necessarily be the leader.
and I think I couldn't think of.
Well, Gunn is already a leader in his own gang, which I guess is what does Gunn do? That this is his side job.
Well, apparently, I don't think he makes money.
Yeah, that was my question. I thought they were homeless and then he just fighted demons. And he's a petty criminal. So what is his? How is this his side job?
Hey, he had a macho image that he had to show. I
don't know. I mean, Gunn actually now that I think about it, seems the most ready for a leadership role because he already has one. But I don't know if it'd be hard to get Wesley on board with that idea.
Well, I don't know. I honestly, I don't think he would mind that. But, I mean, I think Wesley has some qualifications. He was a watcher.
I'm not saying he doesn't have any qualifications, but
it
makes sense that he's the one that steps up.
Yeah. I mean, it literally could have been any of them. Mm-hmm. It just seems like he himself kind of snapped out of it.
He gets the jump on everyone else.
Right.
All right. Well, we can leave them behind for now.
Sure.
So, why don't we talk about the country music superstar?
Lindsey and Lilah?
No, just Lindsey. Who cares about Lilah?
I liked Lilah in this episode.
Yeah, but she's not a country music superstar the same way.
I know.
Now it's completely switched for me now. Now that I've learned about Lindsey's flowing hair and just wonderful music talent, I'm all about Lindsey.
Maybe he'll sing to Lilah.
Oh, well, if he's going to sing to anybody, it's going to be Darla.
I thought getting to see the massacre aftermath was actually a pretty shocking image and worked really nicely, especially after the fact, because we had the gang say, well, he left 30 lawyers in a cellar and let them all get eaten, and then we got to go flash to seeing that, and it was like, man, that's really screwed up what Angel did just to get to see the bodies. And it was, I guess, the darkest the show's been about showing dead people.
Well, there's certainly a lot. Lindsey's under quite a lot of dead people. Yeah, I mean, just because, I don't know. It could be that I've been watching Spartacus and that is like blood extravaganza. And there's almost no blood here. I didn't find this particularly shocking. But the image of Lindsey literally buried under bodies is pretty evocative. What I did like is Lindsey's pleasure in thinking that he's the only one that's been saved.
There's got to be a reason. She saved me.
Which is pretty in line with his creepy obsession with Darla.
Right, and there was a very Joss Whedon humor moment with we've got a live one right after they said that, and you're like, we do?
Yeah. I also think it's a pretty clever move on the show's part to keep a way to keep Lilah and Lindsey around, which is something that they're clear they weren't ready to sacrifice those characters, and it also makes complete sense to me that Darla and Dru would not completely sever ties with Wolfram and Hart. Because Holland does offer them a pretty good deal.
Right, like you have unlimited resources, you have people working around the clock to do whatever you want. I mean, obviously, Wolfram and Hart has been shown to have at least a great deal of power that you could wield.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, I don't know. It's a little... I guess I can buy that they've let Lilah live, But I think that's much more risky if she ends up getting the job than Lindsey, who is desperately in love with Darla and probably would do whatever she wanted. But I do think that there is sort of a kinship between Lilah, the way in Lilah's philosophy, and Darla and Dru, is that I can see that they would let her live because they could see they could work with her in some way.
Because she's evil?
Well, she's evil, and she just sort of acts... She seems to do the same kind of... She seems to operate in the same way that they do.
Yeah, try and manipulate people, and I really loved the scene where the four of them kind of interact. Well, one, it's like my favorite Drusilla moment with he's got cow eyes.
Wait, I don't remember that one.
Okay, she literally says, she's talking about Lindsey. He's got cow eyes, big and black, and she goes, moo. It is so funny and weird.
Well, the thing that I found really funny about that is when Darla says that she loves Lindsey, and then they all start laughing. And then Lilah starts laughing, and Darla tells her to shut up.
All of these are great moments.
I don't remember the moo.
The moo might be my favorite moment in the episode. Okay, no, it's not, but still, it is great.
I completely believe that happened. I just don't remember it.
So what did you feel about the last bit with, or I guess, well, I mean, we didn't talk about the Lilah trying to frame Lindsey.
Well, that's just what I mean, that they say she seems to operate in the same way that Darla and Dru does, because it's pretty much what they're doing with Lindsey. It doesn't really go anywhere, so I don't have much to say about it.
I like her, like, shaking, like, getting grossed out by the end of it when he walks out. Because she kind of goes, ugh.
Well, why wouldn't you?
Because nobody wants to do that to Lindsey.
No, it seems, it just doesn't go anywhere. And of the four stories, I actually think that the Lilah and Lindsey thing is probably my favorite, because it's not completely new, but I think it's new to the Buffy verse. I can't remember it ever having on Buffy where the villains get a story that really has nothing to do with the hero. Because obviously whoever wins the special projects job at the end, because Angel is the special projects, that'll affect Angel, but them maneuvering against each other really has nothing to do with them.
Right. But I think, it is interesting storytelling, having the two of them competing against each other and trying to screw each other over.
It develops them nicely, and it's a pretty, I don't know, daring move, because if you're going to develop your villains, that means eventually you're going to have to make them real people. And they can't just be swarmy lawyer types who want to get Angel because they're evil. They have to have an eternal psychology to them. And they've already set that up, but they need to, even more now that they need to make them real people, and they just need to be real people who are evil.
Right. I'm kind of sad that they didn't give us, like, very little, they didn't really give us any explanation about Lindsey, why Lindsey was acting so weird last week.
Oh, yeah, that's never explained.
They kind of continued on with the they chose me kind of thing, or she chose me, she saved me. But then they dropped that, and he's back to kind of who he was.
The only thing I got from that episode, and the only thing that I can think of, is that he seems to be happy that Darla is getting revenge. He doesn't seem very happy in that episode that they're using her.
Right.
So I guess that's all it was. Maybe it's not, but for now I think it's all that was because of his creepy obsession with her. He didn't like that they were using her, even though, what the hell was he? Why was he attracted to her when she was insane and vulnerable, but whatever. Suddenly now he has a moral compass about it. But so the fact that she took control again, I guess that's why he was happy.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So the last bit about them getting the joint.
Honestly, though, I feel like Lilah should get the job. Because she only makes one mistake, and Lindsey has all of those mistakes. Because we've only seen Lilah make the one mistake.
True, but we haven't seen Lilah do much of anything else.
But that's true. But
so she might not be that qualified.
I guess so, but Lindsey seems to have a whole rap sheet. And then Lilah's like, and they tell Lilah, she's like, you let that one assassin go, so you're not going to get it. I mean, even though Lindsey's like betrayed us like 3 times. Yeah,
but we saw him like do stuff in court and things.
Yeah, I understand, but I understand why they both. It's a more interesting story for them to be both co-heads, but I just like that they list about 5 things that Lindsey did wrong, and then Lilah has just the one, but that means that they're somehow equal.
This is true. Yeah, so I mean, it's an interesting way to, like you said, develop your villains, and I liked watching them in this episode. Mm-hmm. Usually I'm kind of, whatever about Lindsey, but if they can keep making it interesting for them to appear on screen, then I'm definitely for it.
Mm-hmm. This episode, last episode, is the most interesting Lindsey's been as a character.
Right.
Because they're actually trying to do something with him besides that, he had a bad childhood and whatever. They never seem really committed to that idea.
He took my hand. I have to kill Angel now.
I keep forgetting he doesn't have a hand.
They don't focus on it.
Well, they never show it.
It's probably easier not to.
Well, yeah, obviously. And it's probably better that they don't show it every second they can, because it doesn't look good. All right. So now are we ready to move on to Darla and Dru?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So what did you make of Darla and Dru in this episode?
I liked them a lot, and actually I liked getting Darla with a plan a lot more in this episode than what we got from her last week, and I felt like their interactions played well off of each other. Yeah, getting the fact that she wants to use Lindsey and Lilah, I thought kind of showed her kind of expertise. Mm-hmm. Like, she definitely has a bigger game in mind, which was really nice. And then her still being really affected by Angel and trying to deny it, but I guess it makes sense. It's nice because we've had all the flashbacks to see what she was like when she was a vampire and how she was still obsessed with Angel, and then seeing her as a human, she was obviously still obsessed with Angel, so it makes sense that she's still obsessed with Angel.
Here's my theory on that. This is really kind of the first time we've seen a vampire get turned from a human and stay around for a while, because Buffy's pretty good at her job, and the only other time I can think of is Jesse, who dies in the pilot, and then they never mention him again, of Buffy. So I think it's obvious, her feelings for Angel, but what's really bothering her is her lingering memories of being human and how she felt about Angel, or just being human in general, and remembering that she didn't want to be turned. Because, obviously, because Angel's around and she has that history, I think she is disturbed by that. And I think what she says to Dru at one point, that her ideal situation would be that Angel is with them. But the fact that she keeps calling him Angel, and when she really gets upset is when Drusilla starts talking about her heartbeat, and they start talking about her humanity.
Right. He misses when you were born.
And I think Dru at one point even says the last thing that Angel ever said to her as a human, saying that she'll never be alone. That's when she really flips out. So I think it's not so much, it's connected to Angel, but it's more than that. It's her humanity coming through and her remembering that, and now she's disgusted by it and sees it as a disease. But she still also either remembers it or she still feels those same feelings. Because I think vampires don't feel... I think the emotions and the affection she felt for Angel is different as a human than what she feels for him now, and she remembers the difference, and that's what really disturbs her.
Yeah, I mean, that is really interesting. And it definitely... Yeah, it seems like she's holding on to a lot of her humanity.
Well, she's calling him Angel, too.
Right.
She'd only... Even when until the trial, she always called him Angelus.
Even as humans, she was calling him Angelus for a little bit.
Yeah, until the trial, when she starts switching to Angel, but before that, it was when she was acting like a vampire, it was always Angelus. But she's now recognizing the difference between them.
Yeah, I think it's interesting we still don't know that much about how vampires hold on to their humanity, because we very rarely focus on the beginning of once they get turned. It's always like 100 years down the line when we've met these vampires.
Well, once they get turned, Buffy stakes them real good.
Right, exactly. Or the countless number of like soldier vampires that we just have no personality. So to actually focus on them is interesting for what is the psychology of a vampire and how who they were influences who they are now.
Well, she doesn't seem to have too much qualms about going about building the Steam army.
Right.
She's pretty comfortable with doing the evil stuff. It's not like she's conflicted about that. I think she just, either she remembers how she felt and she remembers that being better and a more pure emotion and that really upsets her, or she remembers that she didn't want to be turned and she remembers that this isn't what she wanted as a human and that the idea that she didn't want this bothers her as a vampire.
I mean, so she talks to Lindsey and Lilah about her basically ultimate goal of what she wants, and she says she wants power. But to me, it seems like it's still stemming to Angel. Like she's trying to get his attention.
Well, I think she has his attention.
But, I mean, what is the purpose? I mean, she wants to cause mayhem in the city, apparently. Is it just some, lofty, mustache-twirly bad guy thing, or is she literally trying to force Angel to interact with them?
I don't know.
Because
my feeling is that she didn't like being controlled by Wolfram and Hart, and now she's going out of her way to feel powerful again.
Because I didn't know what her ultimate goal of.
I think her ultimate goal still maybe is. I think she still wants Angel to join them.
Yeah.
It seems that they want their. Darla and Dru's plan seems to be that they want their family back. And I think Darla wants to just empower herself by getting the biggest army that she can, because she'd been used for so long as a human by Wolfram and Hart, and before that she was under the thrall of the Master.
Right.
So she just wants her old head vampire in charge role back.
Okay. So I didn't talk much about Drusilla, but I really like Drusilla in this episode.
Well, she doesn't do much besides be crazy. Eyes like needles.
But I liked all of her psychobabble.
No, I like her a lot. I'm just saying she doesn't do a whole lot to talk about. It's really Darla's on display, as opposed to Reunion, where it was kind of they were kind of equal, but I think Drusilla was more given a spotlight in that episode, and this seems to be Darla's real coming out party as a vampire.
I did like the foreshadowing to the fire.
Well, it's not. It is foreshadowing, but she's like right before it.
Yeah,
I do like when she sees Angel and she says a shadow, and she does that thing with her face. It was cool.
And then they became, grown men.
And they became grown men in fire retardant outfits. Which, I mean, it's hard, but it does actually look like the stunt people are actually on fire. They're not suggesting that they set Julie Benz and Julie Landau on fire, because I want to see more realism in it. And it doesn't take me completely out of the episode, because it doesn't look like whoever it is, it's not Darla and Dru, but they are on fire.
Right. So it works as a stunt. I think it works better than the car scene from last week that bothered me.
Dummy Cordelia?
Yeah. But not by much. But seeing someone on fire, that's a cool stunt. And they looked really messed up. I mean, the makeup afterwards works really well. When the two of them are kind of coddling each other.
I could do without her pausing so much with that was an angel, that wasn't Angelus, who was it? Just get it out. We don't need the dramatic effect of the lines that aren't that deep.
And it seems hard because there's the fire hydrant is really noisy.
Well, no, the thing that is the most noisy in that scene is Drusilla just screaming and doing her Drusilla weeping.
Yeah.
But I do like the idea that whoever Angel is, it's not Angelus and it's not Angel. It's Batman.
It's Batman.
Okay, we can talk about it because I really hate it. we're there now. Okay.
Okay.
There's actually not that much voiceover, but the fact that the voiceover that is there is just terrible. And I'm not of the opinion that narration in general, you can't use it, but you have to justify its existence a bit. And there is nothing in this episode that the narration does for me besides makes me feel that they're trying to do Batman.
It's really jarring, and because we don't get narration a lot in this show.
Mm-hmm.
It does kind of come out of nowhere. They try really hard. They do try and go all in with it, and I kind of applaud them for I don't. Trying to stick with it. Like the fact that Angel doesn't say any lines of dialogue in the episode.
Just keep it as that. Cut out the narration completely and just have Angel be silent the entire episode, and that's very effective, and I get what's going on. The only scene there is one scene that I kind of feel you needed the narration is when he comes out of the Demon Fight Club and says, which, let's talk about that exists, he decides that he's too close and he can't. He's not ready. He's physically ready, but not emotionally ready to kill Drusilla and Darla. That's the one moment where it's a little bit murky from what he's doing on screen that you can't exactly understand it, and that is the problem with narration. If you can do it visually, then do it visually because it is a visual medium. To talk about the Batman thing. Batman and pretty much every other superhero has moments where there's captions about their thoughts, and that's because it's a static image in a comic, and you need that. But this is film, and it's a moving picture, so you should be able to do it without. Because everything they do, they can do without the narration, and the narration is seems like it was hastily written and put together, and it's not as the same quality as the rest of the episode, and it's pretty jarring.
Maybe there was an original cut where there wasn't narration.
That's what it looks like or feels.
And they had to add it on because they didn't sell.
Which I don't agree with, but whatever. Because that's what it feels like. It feels like they just threw it in there because it just doesn't feel thought out at all.
Well, there's scenes that like the him randomly fighting a group of vampires to say that he's got the moves. I mean... That scene doesn't make a whole lot of sense if the narration is taken away.
No, it makes sense to me because you see him training. It's just another training scene, except it's not a montage, and he's not punching things.
I mean, even Rocky had a montage.
Well, that's fine. Rocky didn't.
Montage!
Rocky did talk in his stupid voice. Which might have made those movies better if Rocky was narrating the entire movie. Because it'd probably be a lot of groaning noise. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, so the narration didn't work. I mean, I like...
completely failed. It didn't work. It's horrible. I have strong feelings about the narration, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, it is the worst part of the episode. I liked him interrogating Merle without saying anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's Batman.
And that scene worked pretty well. And I think Merle actually worked pretty well. It was pretty funny for the weasel comedic snitch guy.
Yeah,
I'm hanging here.
Yeah. I mean, he's Batman, and if you like Batman, then fine. But he's also Batman, and it's pretty uninspired and boring.
So all the visual stuff with Angel worked, though? I mean, I like the shot of him coming to the warehouse, dropping the bag, and the axe just kind of twirling in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely like the scene of Smoking Angel.
I'm not saying it's the most visual stimulating thing I've ever seen in my life. But what I am saying is that I understand without the narration what he's doing.
Right.
I'm not saying, besides the scene where he's smoking, and that is actually pretty dramatically shot and interesting. It's just, it works that I understand without the narration, and that's the point of why you shouldn't use narration. If you can get away with doing it visually, then get away with doing it visually, because the narration just makes you seem lazy.
Right. Like, show me, don't tell me.
Yes.
And that's true for most TV shows.
Mm-hmm. And he's just Batman.
Like, he's got his cape flapping in the wind.
And when he does take out those random vampires, he's crouched on a pipe up above, and he jumps down and kills them all.
He swings down.
It's just, it's really boring, and just, if you've ever seen any kind of Batman thing do anything, he's Batman, and I'm over it.
He left his sword there. Those gotta be expensive.
He seems to have a lot of weapons. It's not like the one thing I like about the Angel story is we get that he seems to have fired everyone because he thinks the only way he's going to be able to take out Darla and Dru is if he cuts himself off and becomes as vicious as they are, which shows that there is still room for him to come back from this and that he's not completely gone. Because unless the show takes a complete swerve in what it's being about, eventually Angel's going to come back from this.
Right. The show's not going to turn into... It's not going to be... Like, the title's not going to be Wesley, Cordy, and Gunn.
That's very likely.
Do-do-do-do-do-do.
Well, and it's just... So eventually he's going to come back from it, and it's just up to the show that they make that believable, and he just doesn't come back from it because they decided.
Well, they have two really nice scenes where his humanity shines through. Mm-hmm. One's right after the Demon Fight Club, whenever Drusilla starts doing her crazy babble, like, he's watching you, he remembers when you were warm, mm-hmm. You know, he still remembers you, and then...
He's too close.
That was the only one-time narration that really worked for me.
Well, yeah, because you can't... There's a way that they could have done it differently, where if he had gone to go, like, attack them, and then once Drusilla starts talking about that, then he pauses, and he goes away, then that's fine. But just the way that it comes out, he just seems to be very disturbed for not a whole lot of reason if you don't get the narration. Right.
Like, especially the line, like, he remembers her hope.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of... That is about the only time the narration really worked for me, and it was kind of tragic just seeing the humanity out of him. Okay, and the other scene that really showed his humanity is at the end of the episode when Wesley says they're going to go on with or without him, and you see him, you know, he's been in focus mode the entire time, has this really determined look on his face, and you see him shaken up by it, and so much so that he messes up with his throwing knife dart display or whatever that is.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. He is capable of telling us what's going on internally through his acting, and we don't need the narration.
Right, but it also, it helps if you have other characters there for him to bounce off physically. Hearing Drusilla and Darla or Drusilla talk about Angel and just get his recognition afterwards, that works. Having Wesley there talking to him and then seeing him shaken up works. Just getting him by himself montaging, I don't know. I think it would be kind of boring. I think they tried to make it more interesting with the narration. It didn't work, but I could see that someone editing it without the narration would go, this is kind of boring, we're just watching him montage with epic music playing behind it.
Well, I think it's debatable, but I think having no narration might have been risky, but I think it would have worked better than with the narration.
I agree. It felt like a safer path to have the narration there.
A lot of this episode feels pretty safe, which is fine because it's the mid-season premiere and they're setting up what the different factions of characters are and what they're planning to do for the rest of the season.
Right.
Okay. Well, I guess... Well, it's safe besides the fact that Angel sets people on fire, which we have not talked about yet. I'm not sure why. So what do you make of him saying, I'm too close, but, I can set them on fire?
Well, I don't think I think he knows that they're going to live through it.
Well, it is if they don't, it's a way to kill them where he doesn't have to do it.
Right. And it's still, it's really dark. It's obvious, like Darla says, it's not Angel, it's not Angelus. I really like you said, Drusilla calls him a shadow. Mm-hmm. He is literally trying to push the humanity away from him and become something entirely. And so it is really dark for him. It's badass, but it's kind of evil.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's smoking. Obviously, it's evil. That's how you know something's up, when they walk in and he's smoking.
It's about as ruthless as keeping 30 evil lawyers into a wine cellar and letting them all die. Yeah,
it's of the same quality, which is weird because if he's going to stake them, he's killing them anyway. So I don't know why setting them on fire and not having to drive the stake into their heart is somehow looks more cold and heartless than actually killing them.
Right.
But it does.
Yeah. At the same time, it shows that he means business, but at the same time, he's really just it's an impersonal way for him to try and deal with them, to actually take them out of the situation for a time being. Because I know vampires heal really quickly, but I think getting set on fire takes them a while to recuperate.
You would think. I think it's just more that he can't physically do it yet. But if he's able to hurt them in this way, and he's able to do that, he can distance himself from his feelings about them.
Right. I think it buys him the time that he needs to get ready. Mm-hmm. Because I think we saw in season 2 of Buffy, Spike get wounded and be confined to a wheelchair for a time. Mm-hmm. So this might actually take for some time. We don't know how long he needed to be in the wheelchair, though.
That's true. I think I don't know if it's to give them time to recover, because they could. We'll probably won't see Darla and Dru for a little bit, but I don't think they'll commit to not seeing them for more than 2 episodes.
Right. And as a story beat, I think it works if they decide that they don't have, it makes it plausible for Angel to do other things besides focus entirely on Darla and Dru.
Because they're going to need to, because we're only 11 episodes in.
They can't focus on Darla and Dru for the rest of the season. I would love that, but they're obviously going to have other stories that they want to tell. It's going
to be stalling if they do, because that's just the nature of a 22, 24 episode season.
Right.
Yep, I'm fine with it. If we don't see them for a while. And I do, even that, I don't feel, there has to be a point where Angel goes too far and they can't reach that point, because he's going to have to come back. And they haven't reached it yet for me.
He's getting there, though.
Oh, he's getting there. But he's still not there yet.
He's getting on their level.
It's just, that is so bad. It's just so cheap, easy, hastily thrown together writing. And that's what.
But he's fighting the war.
Whatever.
He should have been doing it in Bane voice. I know it's not for a while, but
whatever. Anyway, just let's move on to feedback. All right. Because I don't want to talk about Angel's voiceover anymore.
All right, so first up in feedback, we've got Kanam, and Kanam says, okay, I've got a nasty cold, so I'll make this quick. 3 thoughts on Redefinition. 1, exposition. Get your clunky exposition here. Did the amount of explanation scenes, the teaser, the Angel voiceover, the Miss Bryce scene, etc., influence your enjoyment of the episode? 2, the episode had one of my favorite fantasy TV cliches. the hero dramatically walking off in different direction shots. This episode was full of these cliches. The voiceover training montage, the slow pan over massacred bodies when one opens their eyes, the say a word and transition to a scene featuring the word, in this case vampire and that demon fight club, or whatever that was. A hero gone bad torturing a guy named Merle. Do you guys have a favorite genre cliche? 3. I liked that Wesley, Gunn, and Cordelia can't help themselves. They fight the good fight because that's what they do and who they are. And he gave it a 68 out of 100. So thank you, Kanan.
Mm-hmm. The clunky exposition, besides the angel thing, doesn't really... I don't feel... Well, the only thing I feel is clunky is Angel's exposition. I think there's maybe a little bit of clunky in the Virginia scene, but not enough. Because I do think when she's it's weird that Wesley hasn't explained how he got fired or why or all that. But when she's talking about unions and she says that the community is very progressive and then Wesley says your father tried to kill you, that feels pretty natural and funny to me.
Right. And so there obviously is a way where they can exposition and it still feel organic. Mm-hmm. Because getting to remind the audience that, yeah, her father tried to kill her or whatever, and that's kind of her backstory, makes sense. I don't know. Yeah, there's a way they could do it to make it less clunky. And obviously we've talked at length about the voiceover and how it doesn't work.
Yeah. And the cold open when they've just been fired doesn't feel clunky to me either. It just seems like they're running down what just happened because they haven't processed it yet. Right.
I do like the shot of the three of them walking and separating.
Mm-hmm.
Like, having the gang look like it's completely dissolved. I thought worked well. Do you have a favorite cliche in TV or genre TV?
Well, I love when they break the windows, as I've explained before. But I do like cool guys walking away from explosions.
I'm a big fan of the say the word transition to that.
Oh, you mean that comic book thing? Which happens a lot in comic books when someone will say a word and then it'll come up on a different screen and it somehow relates.
Yeah, that works really well. They do it a lot in Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm. I'm not a huge fan of that, but I don't hate it.
I think it ties things together. Mm-hmm. For me, especially in episodes that have multiple storylines going on that don't seem to interconnect that well, having the dialogue connect visually helps kind of solidify it, and it gives it a kind of cohesiveness that I really enjoy. So that's something that I really dig out of the cliche things. I know it can be a little cheap, but it does kind of take some work to set it up well, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Sure. I don't think so, but whatever. I think it's pretty easy to do, and it seems pretty obvious that's what they're trying to do for me, but I don't hate it.
Okay. And the gang being the gang was good.
We already talked about that. You're going to talk about it later. Sport. So. All right, so next up we have Ashley, who said, another good Darla and Dru episode. Didn't really care for the angel training montage with voiceover, though. Drusilla ripping off that demon's ear and talking about Angel being there and Darla snapping at her. I like Lilah trying to set up Lindsey by kissing him and him grabbing at her to get to the mic. When Cordy, Wes, and Gunn really go to Caritas to sing karaoke. I do like seeing how annoyed Darla gets with Dru. It's funny. So did Darla and Dru walk in and not see Angel smoking on the hood of the car immediately, or is he that quick and dramatic that he moved into place just for the reveal? Either way, I love it. Setting them on fire was crazy, but I like Darla saying it wasn't Angel and it wasn't Angelus. There's some debate about this, but to me, Angelus is always there deep down, and this is where Angel gives in a bit to the dark side. We know that having a soul doesn't mean you have to be good. What does Angel mean at the end when he says he has to fight the war? Again, it's a great episode, so thank you, Ashley. What Angel means when he says that he has to fight the war, I don't know, because it's a dumb line and they didn't think it through.
They'll fight the battles. I'm going to fight the war.
Well, it's just something you say to sound dramatic, but you don't have to really explain it.
I think he's setting up a personal crusade against...
Oh, don't.
Yes. Yeah, I am guarding this, okay? I think he's going to be focused on both Darla and Drusilla and Wolfram and Hart, and screw the saving the damsels. Well, he wants to get revenge. That's what this is all about.
Okay, sure, but I don't see how that's the war. The war would be... They're fighting the war, because the war is a long endgame. He's fighting a battle that's personal to him.
Right. I mean, I agree with you. I'm just, from his perspective, that's why
it's a dumb line, and it doesn't make sense. That's what I'm saying. It's a dumb line that doesn't make sense, because he's not fighting a war. He's fighting a personal battle, while the three of them are fighting the war that he should be fighting.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
I just feel I don't see how Angel sees this as a war.
Because in war, it gets messy. He's got to do the dark things.
He's been talking about it being a personal battle, so I don't know why he suddenly switched to it being a war, because it's a dumb line that they didn't think through, like most of the Angel voiceovers.
Okay.
That's just my opinion. You're fine if you're wrong about it, but it just doesn't make sense.
I'm just trying to defend it a little bit. It's really just his opinion.
I can understand that, but I don't.
He's in the wrong, but
I can understand that in his opinion but I don't. I haven't gotten from Angel that he thinks what he's doing is right. He seems to be aware that he shouldn't really be going after them, but he can't help himself.
Right. But it just. He knows that he's in the wrong here, but he wants to take him down. He is trying to fight a one-man war against all of the people that have wronged him.
Okay.
So, I don't know.
So
the discussion about
the reveal, because I really love it. Well, Angel seems to have set this up because he has the gas to go in from the door. And I like that he just waited on the hood, where he was like kind of wandering around aimlessly, and then he heard the door open, so then he got real cool with the cigarette.
Yeah, I mean, if they could have lit him in more shadow, and like him smoking the cigarette lights his face up, maybe that would have worked better. I don't know.
I think it works just fine, because I mean, they walk in and the way the camera goes, they go directly to the dead bodies, and then they go, even though he's kind of directly in front of them, whatever, but they see the bodies first, and then they look over. It's not like they wait that long. It's just that Darla and Dru see the bodies, and then they look over and they see Angel. It really does seem to happen in one fluid motion for them. It's just that there's the reveal where they like the camera sweeps over to see Angel, and they focus on him.
The evil glare.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he is most of his face, about half of his face is in shadow.
Right.
Which, it could be darker, but then if it was darker, you wouldn't be able to see him and his facial expression, so.
Yeah, but it would have made the fire look really cool.
This is true.
Not that it didn't already look cool. I like the scene. I like how it's shot anyways. It is just a little strange, and it is funny to think about him, like, waiting.
That he set... I think it's funny to think of him setting it up regardless. And just waiting on the hood of the car.
And they do a good job of hiding the gasoline can behind him.
Well, he doesn't have a can. He has his bag of weapons.
Well, I mean, like... After he sets them on fire, when he walks away, you see the can was directly behind him.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, so they do a good job of like having all the pieces there. So it's cool. It's a cool moment. I really like that moment in the episode, and for Angel in the episode, it's a good moment because I don't think he directly voiceovers right after that. So that's nice.
Yeah, they at least let that go. And I really like that there's quite a bit of dialogue between Darla and Drusilla before that, and he doesn't do anything but keep smoking the cigarette.
Right.
And then he just throws it on the ground and sets them on fire.
So, is this Angelus coming out of him? I mean,
I think I think he's different. It's not. I don't think it's either one of them. It's Angel being evil or dark or tapping into something.
Right. But he's not. You wouldn't say he's tapping into Angelus.
No, because
he's not,
Angelus acts completely differently.
He's being ruthless, but he's not enjoying it. There's no pleasure behind it.
Yes.
We've seen Angel kind of have pleasure and dark thoughts, especially when he was having the dreams about Darla and things like that.
When he fights sometimes and he gets kind of quippy, I think he taps into Angelus then, because Angelus enjoys violence. And he does when he's fighting. Sometimes he does seem to enjoy the punching,
right? The bloodlust of it all.
But this is just so apathetic, and he's doing it because he thinks he has to. Angelus does evil things because he enjoys them.
Right.
He's going solemnly about this because he sees it as a duty for some reason. So is there anything else you want to talk about Ashley's comment? Or
I did like Drusilla ripping off that demon's ears. It actually did make these two little petite girls in this demon fight club
They come in and they're on point.
Because it is visually jarring. You see all these muscular slaves, is how they would describe them. And you're like, it looks really jarring. How are they ever going to, believe that these two little girls are really super powerful? And then she just rips the guy's ears off, and you're like, oh, okay.
Darla commands that room.
Yes.
As soon as she walks in.
Anyways, we can move on to Alicia. I just really wanted to comment on that.
Okay.
So, all right, well, next up we have Alicia, and she says, last week's episode I would give a 91. This week's episode she would give a 70. Favorite scenes: Cordelia, Wesley and Gunn, Darla and Drusilla, Lauren seeing Lady Marmalade, you're not going to leave me like this, I'm spinning here, man, my arse is not a pansy, Darla, Drusilla talk outside after Angel sets them on fire, we should go before I pass out or during, dead already, bad soldiers, the host folded his jacket and put it behind Cordelia's head and caught her when she got her vision, bad, Lindsey being disappointed he's not the only survivor, other, Virginia and Wesley's relationship is still going strong. When I first watched this episode last year, I didn't realize Angel was in the hoodie in the Demon Fight Club until he devamped. Getting a vision sobers you right up. I was not into the Angel part of this episode. So thank you, Alicia.
Mm-hmm. I didn't catch the host putting the jacket. I do like that he apparently, I don't know, is it his powers that he can sense people's path, or he has some kind of connection to the powers that he knows a vision is coming?
Well, I think he taps into something because, I mean, he's an empath demon, so he does read your aura or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I view it as kind of like he's on the same wavelength as however the powers communicate with Cordelia, or he can tap into that. But I wouldn't say that it's necessarily, I wouldn't call him an agent of the powers or anything like that.
No, I think you're probably right. But he's similar, but he's not directly working for them.
Right, and because he runs a demon bar. Mm-hmm. A lot of those demons aren't good.
Well,
and he just sets people.
That was very specious.
I mean, we've seen bad demons, and obviously
we've seen good demons too.
I guess that's true. I don't know. We haven't seen. Well, we've seen. He talked to some demon about him eating his young or something.
Okay, animals also eat their young. Doesn't mean they're all evil. Something they do.
So you assume that he
I don't assume that every
good.
I assume every demon is good until proven evil.
Well, I think he puts people on their path.
Yes.
That in itself is very nebulous.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't necessarily know for good or evil.
I wouldn't say the powers are necessarily good or evil either.
Well, we assume that they're good.
We assume that they are good, but
they're saving people.
Yes.
Or saving the innocent, quote unquote.
But they don't seem to be very... They're not, like, actively... they're not very active in the world, besides the fact that occasionally they give Cordelia visions. If they can give Cordelia visions, then you'd think they'd be more... The power... When we met the Oracles, they didn't seem to be very... They don't seem to have much of a stake in the world. They're just kind of nebulous and kind of good because Angel saves people, but it's not
right. They don't have direct influence.
No, they're just kind of there.
They're kind of like whispering in your ear, kind of thing, which I think works better, especially having some lofty, grand entity. I think works better in your show if they're not having direct influence. Like, I'm glad they got rid of the Oracles.
Yes.
I did catch the host folding up his jacket because, namely, I remembered him doing that on first watch. I thought it was a nice touch, and it worked really well for... I mean, I like the idea that the gang finds its purpose and that there is some larger game here where the powers are still influencing them to continue on with their mission.
Yeah. I mean, I do like that they do care enough that they give Cordelia the vision to shock them back into realizing that they don't necessarily need Angel.
Right, but she probably would have gotten the vision whether they were there or not. It's just, I don't know if they would have been able to do anything about it if they weren't all together.
Well, the powers, I am assuming, can choose when she gets the visions. Because I don't think the only people that are in trouble is when Cordelia gets visions.
Right. Okay, yeah, I guess it makes sense. I hardly think about the fact that there are probably tons of demons eating humans.
Yeah.
And they only choose certain...
They only choose the pretty ones to save.
Hey, there was that one guy that was gonna...
Well, they weren't too concerned about him because Angel wasn't into it.
I think they were probably going, oh crap, man, Angel's going off the path. Who's about to die?
We don't have any pretty ladies, so I guess this guy. Well, that's not going to work.
Plan B. Okay, so Angel in the hoodie in the Demon Fight Club, you can't really tell it's Angel. They do this dramatic...
Don't we see him? I thought we saw him go from human face to man face when he puts on the hoodie. I thought we did. Even if not, I knew I recognized him I recognized his shark mouth.
I mean, that is the distinguishing
that could always
feature
tell.
between...
If his mouth is open, it's probably Angel.
But yeah, I didn't immediately recognize him. I mean, I knew it was him, but I don't think... But it makes sense, because if for him to not be immediately recognizable, otherwise Darla and Dru would immediately go, hey, there's Angel.
Well, I think they should probably recognize him.
Do that anyway.
Because they're vampires. But what I didn't mind about that is that he seems to be hiding in between the crowd. And she does kind of look for him, but she also... I don't think she really wants to find him.
Right.
And it's only Drusilla saying that she can sense him. Anyway. All right. Do you have anything else you want to say about that, or?
No, we can move on.
Okay. So, last up we have Ashley, who's wrote in about Reunion and said, "This was a great episode. I love Darla and Dru teaming up again. I like the scene in the dress up and Darla saying they have terrible service after she snaps that lady's neck. Angel acting out of character and is clearly obsessed with Darla. Great double shock ending with Angel closing the doors on Wolf and Hart and then firing the gang. I love seeing Dark Angel, and no, not the show."
Not a big fan of Jessica Alba?
Who is?
I barely remember that show.
I've never seen it, but it bothers me because if I look up Angel for Google Images for the podcast, every so often there will be a Dark Angel will pop in, and this is not what I'm looking for.
I just had to double check and make sure it was James Cameron that created it.
Is it? Well, that makes sense.
I mean, here's the thing. He digs on trying to make strong female characters.
Okay, sure.
Not the best thing he's ever done, though. But yeah, we talked at length about the double shock ending and whether or not it really worked. You were a big fan of both scenes. To me, if you're going to have a shocking ending followed up by another shocking ending, I think you have to kind of... I mean, they couldn't do it any other way, but for something to hit the same level, somehow made it slightly less effective for me. I still loved both scenes, but it couldn't... They hit in different ways, which was nice.
I think what I like about it is they're not... Yeah, they're hitting in different ways. It's not the same type of scene.
Right.
It's two very... Because the Angel locking in all the Wolfenhart lawyers to die is a very, oh my God, what did you just do moment. And then the firing is...
A gut punch.
An emotional gut punch if you really care about those four and their dynamic.
Right, okay. All right, so you ready to move on to favorite moment and scores?
Sure.
All right, for my favorite moment, I end up going with Wesley telling Angel that they're going to continue on with or without him. I thought the episode did a really good job of focusing on the rest of the gang, and in particularly seeing Wesley kind of step up whenever everything hit the fan. And I also really dug that scene because it also showed that there still is humanity in Angel, that he can still get shaken by seeing the rest of the gang. Like he never looks at Wesley, but just by Wesley saying that, it throws him off his super focused glares and everything. So I thought it was just really effective. I mean, obviously it goes into that line that's still kind of cheesy.
Does make sense.
If they would have kept the line out, I mean, it's trying to be this epic badass line.
If they kept the narration out, the episode would be a whole lot better. Period.
Right. I'm indifferent about the line in that scene because I still get a lot out of that moment.
Okay. All right. I went actually for when Darla and Dru. Well, when Drusilla senses Angel there, and Darla starts to lose it because of Julie Benz and how awesome she is. As usual, because like I said, she walks into the Demon Fight Club and she's completely in control, and then she finds out that Angel's there and she starts to break down and she gets really upset, and you can see her humanity start to leak through, and I think that's impressive that she's able to bring that out in that character and that they're able to write that in. Right,
it made her much more interesting in this episode for me because you could see that humanity. She wasn't just evil, soulless, kind of everyday vampire. There is more to her, which makes her more interesting.
Yep. And it's not as simple as that she is just in love with Angel.
Right.
A girl can go on a rampage without a man being involved. It's more that she is just... It's the fact that she remember she experienced something when she was human that she never experienced before, and I'm expecting that there was probably a happiness and acceptance in her deciding to die that she never felt once when she was a human.
Right, and I think
and a love from Angel that he would be with her. That what little we know of her life, I'm expecting that no one ever really cared about her as a human. Certainly not in the way that Angel... Well, I think she says that, too. That no one has cared about me the way that you care.
And I think she was developing a more genuine, a sense of pure love for him. And I think that seeing the purity in that, she seems really disturbed by it.
Yeah.
All right, so scores?
Yes.
All right.
You go.
See, I'm really torn because most of this episode is very good.
Well, I don't think this, in my opinion, I don't think as good as it is, it's not going to get higher than... It was never going to get higher than a 65 because it's not trying to be anything other than a good setup episode.
Right. Okay, well, that's what I have written down. And I didn't know if that was being too harsh on the episode or not, or if I needed to be harsher. Because literally, I think a lot of this really works.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it is setting up like all the chess pieces again because we're coming back from break. But I really liked all of the moments we got with our gang and setting up Lilah and Lindsey, Darla and Drusilla seeming to have a plan, and where Darla is in relation to Angel just coming into being a vampire. All this is really interesting. And even having Angel be dark and do all these dark things, again, interesting. That voiceover really drags this episode down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it really...
Oh, I agree.
Suffers.
We'll talk about what I'm going to give it. But.
So I'm still giving it a 65.
Okay. Well, I gave it a 59 just because that voiceover really dragged it down, kind of ruined it for me. Yeah, I'm giving it a 59, which is not... It's not a terrible score at all. It just drags it down in such a way that I can't... And the fact that it's peppered throughout the episode.
Yeah.
Like, I can't just... It's not like... It's not the way we've talked about it in the way that it did the recap, where it's just like one vignette where it's bad and I can ignore it. It's just all... And it's not like there's a whole lot of it, but it's just peppered throughout that every time it happens, it's affecting my enjoyment of the episode, which is a shame because the Darla and Drusilla stuff is as good as the show's ever been with the Darla and Drusilla stuff and all that. And it's just, There's just that Angel thing that keeps gnawing away at my enjoyment.
It is a little nails on the chalkboard-ish. Yeah. I'm glad... Okay, it didn't... The moments that it happens in, it doesn't take from other moments.
No.
Like, they are focused. It's isolated.
Yeah, it's isolated on the Angel story. It's just I feel like the Angel story and execution really fails.
Right. About the only moment it steps on is that last moment.
Yes. So. Which, yeah, it really steps on that last moment for me. And if I could turn off the episode before he starts talking about a war that doesn't exist. Whatever.
All right. And if you'd like to leave us some feedback, you can do so by commenting on the post at theangelrewatch.wordpress.com.
Or you can send an email to angelrewatch@gmail.com.
Or you can call our voicemail number at 206-203-3276.
And you can go to the Tumblr, which is theangelrewatch.tumblr.com, to see all the reviews archived there and the gifts of whatever episode we're watching.
We're also available on YouTube. Search The Angel Rewatch. And we're available on iTunes and Stitcher. While you're there, leave us a 5-star review. It really helps promote the show. You can follow me on Twitter at NerdGuyWilliam.
And you can follow me on Twitter at The Comfortador.
And next time, we'll be reviewing Blood Money, where Angel helps a woman who runs a charity from being cheated by Wolferman Hart.